Hey everyone, it's George Couros. It is 2025, and we're going to start it off with a Mindset Monday. Hey, Happy New Year, everybody. This is the first Innovators Mindset podcast for the year of 2025. This is actually the sixth season, I guess. I don't even know why I'm doing seasons, but I just kind of am because it kind of gives me an idea of how long I've been doing this. And I wanted to share some insights with you, some things to think about as you kind of start off the new year. And I'm going to start doing things a little bit differently on the podcast. I don't want to get into this space where I'm just doing stuff because I've always done it. You know, I think it's something I push against in education. It's going to be something I push against myself. I really like doing the podcast, but I'm going to do some different formatting. I'll probably do a lot more solo episodes this year and maybe some shorter podcasts. And just kind of share some different things. And I think it's always kind of tweaking and, you know, changing up your routines to really kind of push yourself, see some different things, how that actually makes you grow. And the thing I want to talk about this year is the idea of the importance of discipline over motivation. We start off this brand new year. We're often wanting to get inspired by something. And we set up these New Year's resolutions. We set up these goals that we have for the year, but oftentimes, and this is like well known by everybody, that we fall off, you know, and we tend to not do this. And instead of saying like, hey, I want to lose weight, I want to write a book. I think the focus is more on, okay, what are the little steps that you actually have to do to get to that point consistently over time? But if you're going to other spaces, if you're going to creators, if you're going to books, and you're looking for that motivation, that one thing that will click in you to get you going, you're setting yourself up for failure because eventually that click will wear off. It is really about being disciplined and doing something consistently, especially when it is hard. And I think that's the hardest thing too. And I want to kind of take a step back and relook at 2024 from myself, from my perspective. And that last year was probably one of the hardest years I've ever had. And I kind of want to start back right about this time last year. I had spent several months preparing to run the Disney Marathon. And that is something, the marathon, and I really believe this, is not the hardest part of the marathon. It is the training for the marathon that is extremely difficult. That's the really hard part because it is weeks and weeks of having, you know, days where you run certain miles, certain distances, and consistently doing that. Because if you actually don't do that, the marathon is not going to be really, really hard. It's going to be impossible for like 99% of people trying to run them. The training and the consistency through that process. So in my mind, what is happening as I'm preparing for this marathon, it's going to be the beginning of the year. I'm really excited about it because I feel it's kind of going to snowball and I'm going to have the best year yet. And I'm just going to have an absolutely amazing year. And so I ran the marathon, very proud that I was able to actually do that. But just a few weeks prior to the marathon, my dog Odom had been diagnosed with cancer. And he's getting older, but he's still very good spirits. He's a pretty active dog. And it was a little jolting before the marathon. And I ran it. And probably about a month and a week or two after, he had passed away. And my dogs are my everything. I love my dogs. And I was devastated. And not only just devastated that I lost him, it was really hard to see how he had went. And it's something I still struggle with today. And that was something I really, really struggled with. And then fast forward, probably about 6-7 months later, I lost my other dog, Cooper, to cancer again. And what I started to realize as I was going through this year, that the discipline I had to get training, and it wasn't just a physical thing, it was a mental thing. I was consistently reading, doing different things. I always do this podcast, writing, stuff like that. I'm always kind of doing those things. And all the discipline, as much as I thought it was going to kind of snowball me into having this amazing year, it actually helped me deal with the year that was to come ahead. And I probably, even though I was dealt with lots of depression, I got up every single day and I did my best with whatever energy I had that day, and I kept consistent with my routine. And there is nothing, honestly, there is nothing anyone could have said that would have snapped me out of that depression. Nothing. But the consistency and continuously doing things, not saying I don't falter. It's not saying I don't have my issues, but it's that consistently trying to repeat doing the best you can every single day, giving it your all, whatever that looks like. And there's little things I do, every single day. I always aim to read for at least 10 minutes. I always aim for at least 10,000 steps. I typically try to do 500 push-ups a day. That is a goal that I have, and it makes you feel good and you don't have to do 500 push-ups a day. Maybe it's 20, maybe it's 50, maybe it's 5. I don't know. But every time that you say, like, I'm going to do this every single day, when you get that check, you get a little breed of confidence. And as I said, nothing would have motivated me to kind of snap out of it. I had to depend on myself, because when you are focused on motivation, you are often focused on somebody else doing that for you, somebody else giving you a spark. Think about this in the school year. One of the questions I get all the time, I know I can be an engaging speaker. People get really excited and they'll say, this feeling that we have right now, that's absolutely amazing. What happens when it wears off? Because it is. The thing is, it is going to wear off. It is going to kind of go away. And that's why discipline matters. It is showing up and doing things consistently over and over again, so that when things go wrong, you have some routine, you have some strength to deal with it. Again, discipline is doing the stuff that you do every single day, especially when it's hard. Not even when it's hard, especially when it's hard, because that's when you actually find yourself. And so what I found is that the more disciplined I become, the more motivated I become, the more I find little steps in success. And I'm not motivated by something external, but I'm motivated by something within me. And I want to share this story, and I was thinking about it, and it's weird because I do think about it, story. So from my teaching career, how people say, what's your Roman Empire? This is my Roman Empire. I think about this at least once a week. I don't know why. I just think it was one of the funniest moments of my career. This was early in my teaching career, and full disclosure, I wasn't really excited about teaching at the time. I kind of hated it, and I just kind of did it. I really didn't like where I was at, professionally, personally. And we were having a staff meeting, and I was sitting like this. Exactly, I'm sitting where my hands are under the desk, and I can't remember what it was, but someone said, "Yeah, and hey, we really appreciate George for doing A, B, and C for the staff." And there was this kind of awkward pause, right? And I remember thinking that, and just sitting there, and just everyone was silent. And I actually, under the desk, started clapping. I started clapping, and then people kind of just heard the clapping. They didn't know where it came from, and they all started clapping for me. And it turned into applause. And a couple of my friends knew that I started it, and they just started laughing. And I thought it was the most funny thing ever, because the applause was actually started for myself. And it is like something I think about all the time, because it was a really funny moment. But it was interesting, because sometimes what you actually have to do, you have to cheer for yourself before anybody else does. And sometimes when you start cheering for yourself when anyone else does, then when you start finding success, other people start cheering you on. It feeds you that motivation. And I was thinking about this when I was at the gym today, because I try to keep consistent going to the gym. And one of the things I love about going to the gym, it really clears my mind, right? It's not just a physical thing. It makes me think about stuff. And then typically when I finish working out, I'll sit in the sauna for 10 minutes and I read. And I hate being in the sauna, but I know there's a lot of health benefits to it. So the reading distracts me. And so it's kind of like something that's, habit stacking, for lack of a better term. And I read this quote from Ryan Hall, and here's something that's really beautiful. Even though I kind of decided I was going to do this podcast, talk about some of these stories, sometimes when you start thinking about things, the things that you need hit you, right? They find you. When you are really focused, and you think about this, you buy a car that you think is rare, and then when you buy it, all of a sudden you see that car everywhere. You see it over and over again. That once you start thinking it starts coming to you. And this quote from Ryan Hall's book, Run the Mile You're In, it was interesting because it actually talked about what I just shared, the idea of like kind of applauding for yourself and really kind of thinking about, and he talks about this belief in yourself of being a world-class athlete. And so he said this: success breeds success. But what happens if you don't experience a success that starts the string of positive thoughts and belief in yourself? You still have to tell yourself the thoughts that successful athletes tell themselves before you even experience the success. Once you start believing you are world-class, you will start acting like you are world-class. And that really resonated with me, because sometimes you have to see yourself as what you want to become, and then you'll become that faster. And that's something that really, really matters. And the way you get to that point is through discipline. It is not waiting for someone to inspire you. And yes, you can look at little things, little sparks. I hope for someone's looking at this and they're not saying, you know what, George said something today and now I'm motivated for the year. No. What I'm hoping is you say, George said something today, and now I'm looking at myself. How do I grow? What are the things I need to do consistently every single day that will not only make me better when it's easy, but will actually make me better when it's really, really difficult to do so, because that's when discipline really, really matters. So I told you I want to keep these podcasts short this year, and I was hoping to do, just a few minutes to share this. I love that quote from Ryan Hall. I wanted to share that story because it's something I can't stop thinking about for whatever reason right now. And, sometimes you need to cheer for yourself before anyone else does. So start off that year focusing on what are the things that you want to do every single day, and whatever goal you have, you'll be there way quicker than you would have if you just focus on the goal. Focus on the habits every single day. The goal will come through that process. So I hope you have an amazing year. Welcome back to another year of the Innovator's Mindset Podcast and the one-off Mindset Monday on a Sunday. Have an amazing day. Have an amazing year. Thank you so much for your time. Thanks for being here. Take care.